Hey everyone, so this is Married at First Sight, Season 9, episodes 13, 14, and 15. So I just decided to do all of them together because that way I can just get through them all since they're pretty much, you know what you're getting into with all three of these episodes. So episode 13 is called She Loves Me, She Loves Me Not. And it's all about the couples meeting with family and friends to figure out if they truly want to stay with their husband or wife, and just get advice from their family and friends. So first, it's Beth meeting with her mom, Gemma, and she's like, I don't know if I want to stay with Jamie based off of everything that he said and done in these last 8 weeks. And Jamie is, basically feeling kind of like the same way when he meets up with Beth's best friend, Mario. And he brings up the fact that whenever she's not in the mood for sex, it's like she's like no, and it's I don't want to, and it's like he's not getting about the fact that maybe she's not in the mood at the moment, or she's not connecting with you at that moment because you're not making her feel sexy and wanting to have sex. So of course she's not really wanting to have sex because she's not in the mood. And you can't with a lot of women, because I don't want to say all women, but with a lot of women, you can't just jump into having sex because you kind of have to get them in the mood. We're not men where we can just go all in right off the bat with no prompting. You have to kind of get us in the fucking mood. So, and that's that's not kind of what he's getting. So yeah, anyway, so Greg then meets with his friend Pico, and they talk about how he's feeling, and whether or not he feels like she's still making an effort to share feelings, and if she's truly trying as much as he thinks she is. And that's basically about it. Diana's meeting with a friend Jaleesa and cousin Tierra, and so she's thinking, or she's worried that he's overthinking things, and her friend Jaleesa is worried that she's now overthinking things, even though she made it a point to point out that he overthinks things. So then, Keith meets with his mom, Mary, and she's like, well, are you still on the fence? And he's like, yes, I am. He asked if the difference, she asked if the differences that they have outweigh all the good things that they share. And he didn't really answer the question. He just said there's a lot of good things that we were matched for, and that was it. It's like, that wasn't the question, though. It's like, what the question was even if you have a lot of good things that you share, what are some of the things that you feel are differences that might outweigh those good things? Or are those small, few differences that you have outweigh all the good things that you two share? Essentially is what she's asking. He didn't answer that. So then we see Iris with her friend Jasmine and her mother, and she wants to stay married, but she's nervous because she claims she has been open and vulnerable about who she is. And I don't really get that feeling so much because I don't remember her saying much on camera about her, herself, the only thing that I really saw was how she essentially got clammy when sex questions were asked and all that, and it was just like, okay. She doesn't, I don't know, she seems like she hasn't really shared much. They may have shared more off camera, but again, I don't know. Anyway, going over to Matt, we see him with his best friend Devin, and what struck me with this, this particular sit down was that Matt was like, he was like, Amber's really clingy. And he says this in his confessional, and it's like, but you just said that I know I purposefully go off with my friends, including the one that he's sitting down with, a lot, and he knows that in turn makes Amber upset. So you then call her clingy. But any normal person, regardless if it's a man or woman, would be, would be upset about their spouse staying out all night or staying out for several days and not telling me where the fuck we're going. So it's like, I don't know. Matt was really just like, just throw the entire fucking man away in these 3 episodes, essentially, and it's just like, okay. And so the night before D-Day, Amber, visits her friend Raven to get advice, and he's like, you know what? I got something to tell you. So a few nights ago, I was at a bar, and I saw Matt there, and he was talking to another girl, and sometime, a little while later, wasn't specified until I think either in episode 14 or 15, it wasn't specified until then that he was there for like an hour, and after about that hour, she left with the girl, and then it's just like, yeah, it was a good thing with how the things turned out with them, because going into episode 14, the Forever Decision, it's now D-Day, and so let's just go right into Matt and Amber. So Amber, lets it be known to the experts once Matt gets there that she was humiliated at school, or at the school where she teaches, when a bunch of other teachers pulled her into the classroom, or into a classroom, and told her with screenshots of this actually happening, where Matt was trying to get another woman to go on a date with him. And it's just like, that is something that we did not know until just then, because before this, all we knew was that he had not once but twice left for like 2 or 3 days and didn't tell Amber where he was going. All he said he was going to go out with friends, and he didn't specify when he was coming back. And then not only that, but you saw in literally the previous episode at the end, where Matt had gone to a bar and was seen with another woman. So now it's just. So Amber decides to divorce, and Matt's like, you know what, I agree. But you know what? It wasn't really until this episode that I was thinking that Matt he really didn't want to be with her. He just went on the show to get exposure for whatever, business, like that business that he was talking about at the beginning of the season with his friend or whatever, that startup business. And that's the only reason why he went on there, is to get exposure for that, or to get exposure for some other, business deal or whatever that he could get. And so that's the only reason why he decided he wanted to do that. So, just throw the entire fucker away. Just please, just throw the entire man away. When people really be irking my nerves, I tend to cuss a lot, so I'm sorry. for letting, F-bombs drop and stuff. It's just like, no, I can't deal with people who are just stupid and act stupid and don't expect people to curse their ass out. Like, I mean, come on. Do you really expect to be acting like this and then people not to call you out on it? Like, I'm sorry, but no, that's just not how the world works. But before Matt and Amber, Keith and Iris, Greg and Deanna, were the first people to, decide whether or not they wanted to get married. And, I mean, they both decided to stay married like I knew they would. I mean, there's not really much to say on them. Then it's Keith and Iris. Iris says she wants to stay married, but Keith, on the other hand, says that because they're in different places individually, he wants to get a divorce. But before he says this, Pastor Cal asks him if he was feeling sexually frustrated because he wasn't getting any sex, and he says no, but I think he was, personally, because especially with what he said in the reunion finale, because it just seemed clear by that point, especially by the finale, that he was feeling like, what, I mean, it's which I get, because it's like, I mean, at some point you kind of have to stop making it she's claiming that she wants to make sure that she wants to give her virginity to her husband, but it's like, I mean, you said you're saving sex for marriage, and here you are married, and you're not willing to even try to do anything sexual with your husband. And anytime anything sexual, even remotely, is brought up, you start cringing. So it's like, to me, it seems like she doesn't necessarily want to be having sex. She just wants to have something over somebody at this point. And which is why I think, which is, what I've been feeling like this entire time. So, I mean, and I don't like the fact that Keith didn't own up to it, because I felt like he said something else to not look like the bad guy. I mean, how you feel isn't how you feel. I mean, you can't help that. What you can help is how you say it. And I don't think he said it at all to begin with, so it's just like, I don't know. Anyway, so moving on. Beth and Jamie both decided to stay married, and that's basically it. Then it's the finale, and it's been 2 months since decision day. Iris and Keith are first, and this is where he explained, he was essentially sexually frustrated. So I just don't know why he didn't own up to it and all that stuff. So and he's like, well, they're still not together. They haven't gotten back together. So and he gets asked, well, would you date Iris in the future? And he's like, no. Deanna and Greg then come up, and they're still together, and they're still doing good, so, which is I'm happy about. Matt and Amber are next, and just get them off my screen and throw them away, please, because he says, I knew within the first 15 minutes it wasn't going to work out. And I'm like, So you wasted 8 fucking weeks of this girl's life because you couldn't sit down with her and tell her, I don't want to be with you. That to me sealed the deal about why he was on there, because it's like, you could have literally saved her all this time and heartache, like she said, and it's like, no. And then finally we get Beth and Jamie. After the camera stopped, they kind of broke up for a little bit because her dog got sick, and she felt like she needed to put that in the forefront of her mind and make that a priority, because her dog is sick, and she's had this dog for at least a couple years, and that's her baby. I'm not gonna just not make sure my dog's okay. But they're still together. They seem to be. They say that they are, communicating better. They say they are, but their body language seemed to suggest something else. She was sitting more more away from Jamie than actually sitting. Because Deanna and Greg, Greg had his arm around Deanna. And Deanna was, sitting with her back towards his arm. She was sitting kind of on his how the guy has their arm around the girl, and it's the girl is kind of sitting where his arm is at and stuff. And Jamie didn't have his arm around Elizabeth. Elizabeth was sitting away from leaning away from Jamie, and so their body language says something totally different than what they claim they were where they were at. So it was I don't know if I totally believe you. I mean, I think maybe your communication is getting better, but it's not where it should. It's still not where it should be. And so that was just me, because it was their whole demeanor was off. And I checked Wikipedia and stuff like that, and apparently they're still married, even to this day, even after a whole year has passed or longer has passed. So I guess maybe they're communicating a lot better since they're clearly still together. But I think I would have thought if anybody else would have gotten divorced, it would definitely been Jamie and Elizabeth too, not just Matt and Amber and Keith and Iris. So because their whole way of talking was just so fucking toxic, and I just don't necessarily believe that they were in as good of a place that they claim they were during the reunion. So, but that's just personally me, and that's basically the last 3 episodes. And I will start watching season 10 of Married at First Sight, and possibly start doing recaps of those as well. Trying to think of other shows I might want to watch and recap and stuff, but so far I think I'll just stick with this. Until then, I'll see you guys next time.